Please welcome Chris Candy.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're trying to do in West Vancouver and come through a few big themes. Take about 12 minutes and then roll into a video that helps, I think, illustrate it. I think the good news, and a bit's come through what Steve and Diana said, is that schools aren't going anywhere. Schools as center places of the community, I think that's actually more important than ever. And so those gathering places. And so while in post-secondary, I think we see more of this movement online, I actually think in the K-12 system, we have little bits, but I don't think that's going to grow. I think schools as center of the communities aren't changing. And so there's a lot of talk about, well, so why do it anything different? We talk that we want these skills. Creativity, problem solving, innovation, teamwork, collaboration, cross-cultural, technological literacy. We want kids to connect across all topic areas. And in some ways, it's not new. We've always wanted this. This is what we wanted when I went to school. This is what we wanted when our parents went to school. What's a little bit different now, though, is that we would do social studies and then figure out how we fit in creativity. And now in schools, I hear a lot more of, we're trying to get kids to be creative. How does social studies and English work to make that happen? And so the skills are becoming more of the top drivers and the curriculum moving into versus the content being those drivers and those skills we try to fit in. And I think that's the subtle shift. Actually, a lot of what we value, when you look at what the educated citizen in this province, hasn't changed, and it's very relevant to today. And so a lot of these things are not new, but maybe our approach is a little different. In West Vancouver, you'll see these three things. Talked about a lot, go into any school, and you see them in action. First one is inquiry, and Diane's talked a lot about that. Spirals of Inquiry is a well-used book in our district. We have a fair number of IB schools too, so we have the IB cycle, and I think there's some in the program here. Yes, right? We have the first book. There they are at the top. Here. Well, probably out in some West Van schools this year, I'm sure. So inquiry. The second one is self-regulation. There's a number of influences around this. We've been most influenced by Dr. Shanker's work out of Ontario. We're in a project with him in West Vancouver. This is about getting kids in the zone for learning. I think this is some of the most exciting science in education that's shifted from when you went to school and when you were in elementary school 15, 20 years ago. This science is really interesting right now. And I think we're knowing more about how to get kids who are in the right zone for learning. And the third one is digital access. We believe really strongly in digital access. All of our staff in our district have a device. We have a bring your own device model that we have from grades 4 up. We think that kids having access to the right tools at the right time is something that's really important. And even if you don't agree with all this, like this is the world that you've tasted and this is the world that our kids have had outside. So we have to figure out how we make sense of that if we want to make sure that the K-12 public system continues to be so relevant. And for me, I think there's a bit of a time urgency. Like it's kind of now around some of this shift. There is not, it's easy to wait, but I think with my kids in school right now, it looks sometimes too much like my school, and it looks too much the shift. I feel that real urgency right now of not major shifts, but there are shifts that need to happen in our system to evolve. Sometimes it gets confused, and that we're trying to do this. It's not about stuff. And it's sometimes a conversation, it's really simple to think about it as a stuff conversation, but it's not a stuff conversation. It's about, sometimes doing old things better. And that's okay. I gotta admit, a lot of the iPad use I see in this province is kind of just doing old things better. It's okay. But what's exciting is doing the new things you couldn't do at all if you didn't have those tools. It's those kids who a girl I know who wrote a blog post and had over 100 comments. In the old world, we didn't have a way of doing that. So that's exciting. We have things to do in a new way that you couldn't do the old way. Sometimes when I see a class doing a math app on an iPad, I kind of think they should just use the worksheet. It's the same, because really it's not a lot different. Maybe the worksheet is just as useful and a lot cheaper than using the iPads. And this is one of the things we struggle with, I think, sometimes, is that we kind of, when I ask students, so what do you want to change? The number one thing they always want to change is the timetable. Because it's the only thing they can contemplate that they know can be done differently. Well, they either want it to be semester or linear, or they want to move lunch around. They actually don't think in the big sense of what's possible about how their learning is organized. And then, so we get stuck around some of these obstacles to change. There's the no need, like we're really good. Highest performing English speaking country in the world. highest performing multicultural country in the world, Canada. There's the money argument. The system is not as well funded as it should be to do these things. When it gets funded, we'll make the changes. There's the hurry, like, well, let's just wait till, let's see what Finland does next, and then let's figure out what we do. There's a bit of a desire, like, this is the reinvention is harder. And then there's the trust. This is the core of the BC challenge. The further we move away from the classroom with the teacher and the kids, the less trust we have in our system. We don't have the trust between governments and unions. We don't have the trust between K-12 and post-secondary. And there's tons of trust in classrooms, and pretty good trust in schools, and even in districts, a fair bit of trust. But as you get further away, it's like we become more and more skeptical of motives. We want relevant, connected, unlimited learning. And for us, it's some of the benefits of digital. The new norm for how teachers and students learn. I got a kind of shocked that nobody's really in the Twitter game here. I feel like I'm having a party by myself on Twitter this afternoon. There's like 3 of us there. It's interesting. It's just interesting. It's interesting to see. I think it's a really wonderful professional place to engage with, especially for people that are wanting to build some connections and build a network up. So we're moving more to one-to-one, especially in grades 4 to 12, so more and more access. And at the same time, I identified another trend along with digital, it's connecting to the earth. More agricultural programs, more school gardens, more outdoor classrooms, more environmental education. And so these things they seem like they don't go together, but we actually engage in digital and connect to the earth. It's a really powerful combination of opportunities that we have happening right now. And so sometimes you think you go digital, you move to more siloed and solo, but we have this other piece about being more connected into our communities at the same time, is I think really interesting. And then equities come up, and it's one, easy for the West End guy to be the equity guy here today, right? This is going to be out, this is like the recorded version, right? I should do a different version of that. But it's in our community, but we're only as successful as the kids in Steve's district and Diane's district, because we're part of one larger system here. Public education is about all of our kids. And so if we say this is what's good for some kids, it's good for all kids. And so we have to start to figure those out. And we're trying to figure them out in a district sense, from a district that's as diverse as Lions Bay and Bowen Island to different parts in West Vancouver. Another list that I'll really just move quickly on. I really do think mobile's changing it with phones and devices. 83% of the teachers said it had a positive impact on their teaching when we gave them a choice last year between a laptop, an iPad, or a MacBook. Like, it has some real power there. Good writing is more important than ever. We're asking kids to publish for a public audience. Actually, it's more important than it's ever been. So when people think, oh, well, it's this new LOL kind of world where it's text messaging, not true. Kids need to be good writers. If we're going to use social media, we need to teach it. We can't just turn it on and say, go to it. We got to be in there with them, and we got to be in there in an ethical way with them. Networks are essential, and these are those new networks. These are for me, when I apply for a job, I got like 7,000 people on Twitter that I bring with me to the job. That's the new way. And so it's not just how smart I am, it's how smart my network is. That's something we need to teach kids, is the power of the people. It's not just your friends, but your network. And then when you give kids real world experiences, it is ridiculously addictive. When they blog and they get real comments in real time, or they do real work. Not, I think we kind of have fake real work sometimes. It's like real, but it's not. But real, like in shop and art, they can do a real forever. But we kind of are now getting, how do we do real in social studies and science and math? An outdoor learning program where they go collect the water samples at the lake that they use in the classroom. That's real. A few trends, more informal learning. So this is like Khan Academy. This is things outside of school. This is not in that 93-day. That's a growing group. Some of them for profit, some of them not for profit, some of them free, some of them online. More and more kids getting chunks of learning outside of the school day. Flexibility. Governments are giving us a lot of flexibility in this province as school districts to go figure it out. And then, what we try to do as a school district, we try to give some of that same flexibility for schools, and hopefully schools for teachers, because what we actually want you to do is give flexibility for kids to show their learning how they want to show their learning. That choice personalization conversation is about, there are some, pieces that are core for all, but there are some flexibility that we want to give to kids. And so that really you need to model that throughout your system. If you believe that for kids, you should give teachers the same flexibility, and schools the same flexibility, and districts the same. And the other side of it, what the smart systems do is schools network teachers together, districts network schools, and good governments network districts together. And what I think is smart work, which I think some of what BC is trying to do, is that we network with the smartest jurisdictions in the world. You know, that we network with Finland and New Zealand, and Alberta, and Ontario, and other people that are doing interesting work so that we're learning together. And so you model that as a system as well. So you create flexibility on one side, and you create networks on the other side. Another trend is the devices are getting cheaper. Not as cheap as quickly as I thought, but they are, you know, continuing to come down. I think most kids have a mobile phone, but they're, I think some sort of a gizmo of some kind is coming closer to being in the price range of all three. And there's tons of stuff out there. What we need to do, though, is narrow it and go, these are some of the things that we're going to focus on. And there's not right and there's not wrong, but sometimes you open these things up so wide that it's overwhelming for teachers and it's overwhelming for kids. Our next challenge is kind of this Khan Academy. Khan, hands up, yes? Half-ish? Okay, not the greatest thing in the world, but really interesting. So when kids go online and do videos, some kids go like this, some kids go like this. And so how do you personalize it so you can have different kids in the classroom? Is there ways that technology can help us to make it easier for kids to be at different places at the same time? Because it's really hard to differentiate and personalize in a classroom when you have 30 kids. But there might be some ways that technology can help, so that's part of the Khan Academy challenge. When we say personalized learning, and you've heard it and you'll hear it a lot, it doesn't mean every kid's doing their own thing. And I'll share, there's a really nice chart I'll tweet out afterwards around this. Personalized learning, there is still a core that's a core for all, but it's that choice and flexibility on the edges of that, especially as kids get older, they get increased choice as they move through the system. So there's less choice as a kindergarten student and more as you move through to a grade 11 or grade 12 student. And then, it's, as I say, a gathering place. The schools continue to be a gathering place. And you gotta have hope, right, around this stuff. I'm gonna, I'm feeling my age a touch actually right now. I'll finish with a video which I think speaks to the complexity of our work, the work and the excitement. I share Steve's optimism. It is the most wonderful profession in the world. And if there are pieces there, you've got the double speed version of the talk. So the blog has the slides are all posted there, and that's how you can
Great. I'll have to see over there. Let's give a round of applause for our first superintendent.